Continuing the previous session as to discussing about consent, we have discussed about caution, undue influence and fraud. Now we shall discuss about misrepresentation. What exactly is misrepresentation? Misrepresentation means stating certain facts that are untrue. Here the intention usually is not to defraud another person. First, I'll explain this concept about misrepresentation by taking an example. Let's say there are three parties over here, A, B and C. Okay? And there is a company called as XYZ. XYZ company. A is the worker, let's say employee of the company. B is, let's say he is the director, and I can say potential CEO. There is one S who is the shareholder who wants to purchase shares in the company. Now there is another person, L. Let's say another important employee of the company. Now A gets an information from BL stating that B is going to become the CEO of the company. Okay, this information A tells to S. So now S had bought shares in XYZ company. Okay, S had bought shares in XYZ company on the information given by A. A got some unofficial information from L. Now, when the results have come, when a general meeting was held, instead of B, Mr. D had been appointed as director. Appointed as CEO. Now, definitely Mr. S had suffered a loss. Or he said, see sir, Mr. A had misrepresented the facts and he had not given the statement correctly. Please refer example 1 of page number 1.46. So now this particular statement of Mr. A is called as misrepresentation. This is called as what? Misrepresentation to Mr. S. In such case, yes, misrepresentation also definitely is voidable. Even in case of misrepresentation, the party is considered as I have told you over here, the contract is voidable. That is, Mr. S can definitely sue Mr. A in court of law and prove that he had acted under misrepresentation. So what exactly is misrepresentation? Please underline this. Underline these lines over here. So what exactly is a misrepresentation in page number 1.46? I want you to underline the analysis of section 18 rather than the definition, because the definition is more confusing. So please underline the analysis. According to section 18, there is a misrepresentation when statement of fact, if the maker believes, please don't underline the aspects given in between, just underline these words. Statement of the fact, if the maker believes it to be true, but which is not justified by the information he possesses. The second point, when there is a breach of duty by a person without an intention to deceive, which brings an advantage to him. When a party causes, even though done innocently, the other party to the agreement to make a mistake as to the subject matter, then also it comes as misrepresentation. Misrepresentation, usually it is not to commit a fraud, but definitely it can be either on the knowledge or innocently he misrepresents money, a fact which is not true, he believes it to be true. There's another example in the study material which states that let's say there are two parties A and B. A believes that A is selling his bike to Mr. B, say motorbike to Mr. B. A believes that his motorbike is in a very good position. Okay, A believes that his motorbike is in a great condition and takes a price from B. Now, while selling this bike, he believes that his bike is in good condition. But in fact, when the bike is shown to a mechanic, he finds severe defaults in the engine of the bike. In such situation, A had misrepresented the facts to B. B can definitely file a suit against A and make the contract voidable. That is what will happen. The A has to repay the whole money back to B and take back his bike. That is called as misrepresentation. Going by the points, the first point, statement of fact, if the maker believes it to be true, but which is not justified by the information he possesses. This example with regard to motor vehicle. The second one, when there is a breach of duty by a person, meaning he did not commit that duty in a contract. He is supposed to commit one duty, but he did not perform that duty without an intention to deceive, which brings an advantage to him. He had like both, let's say there are two people who are purchasing and selling a goods between two countries. Let's say a person wants to import goods from US. A wants to import goods from US. From let's say B. Now A had got B, and B said he'll supply the goods to A by end of June, and A is supposed to pay him on July 5th. A got an information that dollar prices have weakened. Dollar prices have weakened. So, and the Indian rupee had strengthened. That is now $1 is just 50 Indian rupees, and in such situation he will be like he need to pay lesser amount money. He need to pay less amount of Indian rupees to purchase dollars to repay Mr. B in case if he makes the payment as on July 4th. So now what A does, instead of July 5th, on July 4th itself, A pays to Mr. B. Here it's a breach of duty because even though there is no loss, it's a breach of duty because A is supposed to pay Mr. B as on July 5th. But he has paid on July 4th, and is he getting an advantage over B? Yes. Why? Because of the exchange difference. He knew that the rupee will strengthen for one day. That is what as on July 4th, and July 5th the prices will be normal. Still, this can also be called as misrepresentation. And definitely B can sue him in court of law, and the contract is voidable. That is, the contract can be cancelled. A has to return goods to B, and B definitely has to return the payment to A. Then comes when a party causes, even though done innocently, the other party to the agreement to make a mistake. It can be like, rather than an example, it is explained clearly. Without any intention, one party makes the other party to do a subject matter, to do a mistake on the subject matter, still it is considered as a misrepresentation. Please get these differences between fraud and misrepresentation clearly. The basic difference between misrepresentation and fraud is their intention. The intention of a fraud is to deceive, whereas misrepresentation is not to deceive. In these differences, there are two spellings, that is repudiate and restitution. The meaning of repudiate is refusing to accept, and restitution is restoring something to normal. Because these are technical words, I wanted you to know the meaning. Please read it down and go through them carefully, because these differences can definitely be asked in the examination. Then comes to mistake. Then we'll talk about mistake. What do you mean by a mistake? Do you think it is void? All these aspects, misrepresentation, caution, undue influence, everything is voidable. That is, they have entered into a contract, then they file a suit and then they want to cancel the contract. But in case of mistake, right from the very beginning, in case of a mistake, the contract is void right from the very beginning. What is a mistake? Innocent or erroneous belief which leads party to misunderstand others. Mistake is something which is an innocent belief. Usually based on that, both the parties are not under the same sense. Both have a different sense. A says, Mr. B, A calls Mr. B, says, I have a car, I want to sell you. B says, yes, please sell me that particular car. Let's say Mr. A has got a Fiat car, but B assumes that car to be a Maruti. Let's say Maruti Swift or Maruti Swift or so and so. So now the very intention is incorrect. It's a mistake on part of A to sell Fiat car. He just said car. He did not say which car. And it is obviously a mistake on Mr. B also. He did not say which car, type. He had assumed things. He should have asked Mr. A, what is the type of the car, or what is the model of the car, what is its HP and so on. B says Maruti Swift and they try to enter into a contract. In this case, the contract itself is void. See, here the intention of A is not to deceive B, and similarly B's intention is not to deceive A. It's an error, innocent error on both the parties. That is called as a mistake. Please take out your study material, page number 1.49. Please underline this particular point. Mistake may be defined as innocent or erroneous belief which leads to the party to misunderstand the others. Mistake may be either bilateral or unilateral. That comes under mistake of fact, which is given in this particular flow chart in page number 1.49. But before that, I want to explain what is mistake of law and what is mistake of fact. This particular example comes as mistake of fact. The very fact guiding the contract is incorrect. Here they don't know what car it is. Mr. A and B, one wants to sell a car, the other wants to purchase a car. Very good. But they are not clear which car. They are assuming things. A has assumed that he is selling a Fiat car. But Mr. B assumes that it is a Maruti Swift car. So do you think both of them match? No. So definitely it's a mistake and this contract is called void. Now both of them can't go and fight in court of law. In previous cases, it is voidable. Mane, they'll go into court of law and try to cancel the contract. Here the court believes that it is void. It cannot be enforceable in court of law. That is called as a mistake. So mistake of fact is this example. Then what is mistake of law? Mistake of law, well, let's say here the Contract Act wants all the citizens of India to know the basic laws of the country. The citizens cannot prove ignorance of law to escape from wrongdoings. Like for example, as per Income Tax Act, every person as per section 139 is accessible for self-assessment. Self-assessment means what? He himself has to note down, I need to say calculate his total income, arise at the tax and then pay it to the government. Every citizen should be aware of it. Now that is called as a law. Now let's say in case if the citizen is not aware of that law and has not paid the tax, then that cannot be taken as acceptable. It will be called as a mistake, and definitely he needs to pay the tax. He needs to pay the damages, that is tax along with the penalty. Here mistake of law does not mean mistake in the act. Mistake of law means a person is supposed to know the laws clearly and he is supposed to act as per that law. In case if he doesn't act as per that law, the contract is considered as void. Like for example, let's say child marriages are banned in India. Child marriages are banned in India. In such situation, it is a criminal offence, but without ignorance of the law, let's say A and B have come into contract, they are minors, they want to get married. Now A says, now they have come into a marriage contract, I am talking about a prenuptial agreement. So now can they execute this contract in court of law, prenuptial agreement? No. Why? Because as per the Marriage Act, two people should be majors before getting married. So that is called as mistake made because they do not know the law. In such situation, as per Contract Act, their prenuptial agreement will not be enforceable. Okay. Then mistake of fact, I've just explained it. What are the two types? I'll just make a small flow chart, then we'll go about the explanation. Mistake of fact is two types, that is bilateral and unilateral. Bilateral is something mistake as to subject matter. Mistake as to possibility of performance, that is either legal or physical. Quality, price, identity, quality, quantity, price, identity, etc. The unilateral mistakes are identity of a person, character of written document. See, mistake as to subject matter, just now I have explained here, the identity and quantity have been incorrectly assessed. This is called as mistake as to subject matter, the Fiat car and Swift car. Now, what do you mean by legality? Legality of object and consideration. Which legal aspects, mistake as to possibility of performance. When do you consider there is a mistake in legality? That is, here, when legality of object and consideration is something wherein the very contract had been executed wherein the object is not recognized by the law. What do you mean by that? Please underline this paragraph given in page number 1.50 of your study material. The consideration or object of an agreement is lawful unless, here he has given exceptions, so please don't get yourself confused. When I am talking about legality aspect, mistakes in legality aspects. What agreements are not considered as legal? Here, these agreements, what are they? First and foremost, forbidden by law, defeat the very provisions of law, fraud, involves injury to another person, court regards it immoral, opposed to public policy. In this situation, it is considered as a mistake, and these contracts or these agreements are not, sorry, I can't call them contracts, these agreements are not considered enforceable because it is a mistake. So what are they and what are the case studies? Please go through them. Definitely I'll start explaining with the help of examples. Please take a pencil and mark it in your study material. When the consideration or object is forbidden by law. In simple sense, A had asked Mr. B to kill Mr. C. It's definitely an illegal activity. It comes under murder or assassination as per IPC. So in that case, it is considered as a huge mistake and definitely it is void. That is, the Contract Act will not recognize it. Mr. A and B will be tried upon the provisions of Indian Penal Code. Let's see the example. A license, like here, rather than reading, I'll explain it. See, there is a forest department. Forest department, they give licenses to contractors for the maintenance of forest, let's say for cutting of grass and all. So the forest department had given a contract to Mr. A for cutting the grass. So Mr. A, but in conditions only, it had been mentioned that Mr. A cannot subcontract to anybody else. But they have already stated, but these conditions are not enforceable. Now what Mr. A had done, Mr. A had gone and given it on subcontract basis to Mr. B. Now forest department said it's a mistake, it's not correct on part of A because the condition had been given. But the court had ruled condition is there but it is not enforceable. Please underline this particular point, that the observance of the conditions of the license is not obligatory under the Forest Act. Because of this condition, A was not held guilty. Please go through this particular example. But the observation of the conditions of the license is not obligatory. The next one is provision of law is defeated. Here, provision of law, they have talked about Hindu law. Okay, Hindu law. What is Hindu law? Okay, not everyone is aware, but usually when a person is given in adoption, the maintenance is not given to parents. Like, let's say a parent had agreed to give their son in adoption to another party, stating that the other party should pay some amount every month to the parent. Now, this is not recognized in Hindu Act of Adoption. In such situation, mind you, the very provisions of the laws are not being followed. So this contract is considered as void. In case in a later stage, if the other party does not pay money to the parents, now the parents cannot go to court of law. Why? Because the contract is void. Why? The contract is void because it is not following the provisions of Hindu Adoption Act. So this is when the provisions of the very law have been defeated. The next one is fraud, which we have discussed in detail. And what is the difference between the fraud which we have taken up in this topic and the fraud which have been given over here? Here, usually this agreement, both the parties have an intention to defraud. An agreement for sale of goods for purpose of smuggling them. Here, in the first situation, the first fraud which we have learned about, in that situation, one party is defrauding another party. But here, both the parties are involved in fraudulent aspect. Say A is selling to goods to B, very well knowing that B is smuggling goods to some other country. That is called as fraudulent activity. This particular activity is also not recognized. It will come under mistake, and definitely this contract is void. This agreement is void. It is not even a contract. Please see the wording. It is agreement given in your study material also. The other aspect, court regards it immoral. Certain activities are regarded as immoral. Those activities, in case if two parties enter into an agreement to perform those activities, immoral activities, then definitely the contract is considered to be void. Definitely aspects with regard which are opposed to public policy, then also it is considered as void. Like what is public policy? Like for example, instigating fights between people, not following the rules of the government, or encouraging people to break the rules. All these things come under opposing public policy. Like let's say A has entered into contract with Mr. B stating that you initiate a riot, money, a problem in a particular place, then I'll pay you a money. That is opposed against public policy. In these situations also, definitely it is said as a mistake, it is considered as a mistake, and that particular agreement is not enforceable in court of law. And along with it, the public policy has given an example of trading with an enemy, stifling prosecution. What do you mean by stifling? Stifling means escaping or oppressing prosecution. A person had been held guilty by court of law, he is supposed to be put behind bars. But this person had become a fugitive. Money, he is running away from police, and he enters into a contract with Mr. B saying that Mr. B, you hide me, then I'll give you money. This is called as stifling prosecution. Even that contract is not recognized. Even champerty and maintenance. In case of champerty, a person agrees another person in litigation. Let's say a person is in litigation with his other family members for division of property. So now this person goes to a lawyer to explain his part in court of law. Now the lawyer, if he says that you need to pay certain percentage of your property as my fee, that is called as champerty, and is not recognized as a contract by Indian Contract Act. So this is with regard to mistake to the possibility of performance. Then there are certain other aspects also which he has given, which I'll be explaining it after erasing this. What are the various agreements? Okay, unilateral, let it be over here. Agreements opposed to public policy. I have already explained the champerty, so I'll talk about from traffic related to public offices. From the fourth point, purchase of purchasing jobs. Interference in court of justice. Interest against obligation. Last and final one being unlawful consideration. Agreement opposed to public policy. I have explained the first 3 points. I wish to state the next 6 points as it is. What do you mean by traffic relating to public offices? Traffic here means movement. Here, let's say a person who persuades another person to retire, offering him some money so that he can take his job. That is also not considered as a contract. It is, and why? Because it is in the nature of an immoral act. Then with regard to monopolies, agreements related to monopolies, like let's say there are 5 shopkeepers selling fruits in a market. Now A forces or A gives certain amount of money to all the 4 other shopkeepers, asking them, A forces all the 4 other shopkeepers, asking them to close their shops so that only A runs his shop. That is called as agreements tending to monopolies. In that situation also, these agreements are not recognized in course of law. Marriage brokerage agreements. What do you mean by that? Then you might be getting a doubt. What about all this Shadi.com and all this Bharat Matrimony? See here what the law says is, now A gives money to B so that B makes M and N to get married. N is not interested in marrying M. But A says that please gives money to B and asks B to see to it that M and N gets married. That is illegal. See here, marriage bureaus, they just give information about prospective brides and grooms. So their acts are very much legal. But here forcing people to fix marriages is definitely not recognized. Interference in court of justice is, let's say a witness in an important case had been bribed so as not to appear in court of law. In that case also, that contract is not recognized by court of law. Say there is an important witness to a case, but they have given him money saying that you don't appear in court of law. If you appear in court of law, then will not give you this money. So in that case, they are definitely coming in between court of justice. In that situation also, this particular agreement is not recognized by court of law. What do you mean by interest against obligations? Do you think this will be recognized? Please underline this particular example. An agreement by an agent to receive without his principal's consent compensation from another for the performance of his agency is invalid. A, who is the manager of a firm, agrees to pass a contract to X if X pays 2 lakhs privately to A. That is, here A is taking a bribe from X. In that case also, this particular contract cannot be enforced in court of law. The last one, unlawful consideration. What do you mean by unlawful consideration? A party is already engaged in unlawful activities. Now B comes and promises to work for that particular party. He says, sir, I'll work for you, please pay me 20,000. Now, because A is working in an unlawful activity, even though the B had come in good faith, this is considered as an agreement and this is not called as a contract and it is not enforceable by court of law. The main business of A is smuggling goods. Okay, smuggling goods by not paying taxes to the government. Now Mr. B, what he does? He works for Mr. A. Now if Mr. A does not pay him salary, B cannot go to court of law. Why? The very essence of this agreement is incorrect because Mr. A is into smuggling activities. These are the various legal aspects of a bilateral mistake. Now we'll talk about void contracts. Expressly declared void agreements. Money from the very beginning expressly means clearly they are stated as void. But before that, what are unilateral mistakes? Like one person assumes the other part of, like I'll take an example, A and B are there. A says he wants to buy a car, he says I'll give you details later. Now B assumes, he really becomes very excited and assumes that A has got a Mercedes Benz and he is selling at a lesser price. So the mistake is on part of B and this contract is called as void. Even before A gives him details, B had gone to Mr. A and transferred money to Mr. A. In this case also the contract will be considered as void. Here there is an unilateral mistake with regard to identity of a person or a character of a written document. In these situations also it is considered as a mistake and these mistakes are considered as void. The next topic is agreements that have been expressly declared as void. What do you mean by the word expressly? Clearly. Please, as of now, please understand expressly means clearly. So what are the various contracts? We'll just give a small peek into it before closing this particular chapter. Agreements declared to be expressly void. I want you to study it from your material rather than me writing it on the board. This can be asked as a separate explanation question or definitely it can be asked individually as well. So what are the various contracts which are declared as void or agreements? Rather than contracts, it is called as an agreement. The first and foremost one is agreements made by incompetent parties. What are parties incompetent to act? Minor, people of unsound mind or people who have been detained by court of law. So all these parties are definitely, any contract that have been entered by them will be considered as void. The second one is agreements made under bilateral mistake of fact. See, mind you, in study material it had not been given in the same manner, but as I have already explained, bilateral mistake, we have seen about the various aspects like opposing the public policy or going to contracts restricted by agreements restricting marriage and so on, which we have learned, nearly 9 points which we have learned. All these agreements come under bilateral mistake. Why I have explained this bilateral mistake is it is continuation of this legality of object and consideration. Bilateral mistakes, two aspects: mistakes with regard to quantity, quality, price and identity. The other aspects with regard to legal considerations. What are not considered as legal? Immoral activities or activities which have been forbidden by law. The very provision of the act had been defeated. Just now we have discussed all those provisions In such situation also these contracts are expressly means clearly. The moment you see the agreement, they are considered as void. The next one is agreements, the consideration which is unlawful. Definitely. See, in case A promises, A asks B to kill another person. Here, the consideration to A is definitely unlawful. In such situation, also these contracts are considered as void. Agreements, the contract or object of which is unlawful in parts. Even though it is unlawful in parts, here you can definitely see this example agreement or the contract in which unlawful is in parts can be various wagering agreements, speculative agreements, wherein certain aspects are considered as unlawful. Wagering means betting activities which have been prohibited by courts of law. In such cases also these agreements are considered as void. Agreements made without consideration, definitely they are also void. Agreements in restraint of marriage, which we have discussed in length while talking about all the agreements that are opposed to public policy. Then agreement in restraint of trade, that is monopolies, which we have discussed. Then agreement in restraint of legal proceedings, paying money to the witness not to appear at court. Such agreement will also not be recognized under Indian Contract Act. Agreement, the meaning of which is uncertain. We don't know what exactly it means. The meaning of the agreement itself is uncertain. A promises B to supply 100 cans of oil. Here, what cans of oil is not certain. In such cases also, the agreement is uncertain. And finally, wagering agreements. Wagering means betting agreements. Here, I'll be discussing about the various case studies in detail right now. And agreements to do impossible acts. All these are void even before they are executed. What do you mean by wagering agreements? Wagering agreements are something which are in the nature of betting. Like here, I'll first explain the example, then we'll talk about it in detail. What is a wagering example? Wagering agreement. An agreement by, please underline, an agreement by way of wager is void. It is an agreement involving payment of a sum of money upon determination of an uncertain event. The event itself is uncertain. In case like A agrees to pay 50,000 to B if it rains, and B promises to pay a like amount if it does not rain, then it is called as what? Bet. And can anybody say whether it rains or not? Leave alone the meteorological department. Usually no. In such situation, this particular agreement cannot be enforced in court of law. Okay, till here you must have understood. What are the essentials of a wager? Please mark them because they are important. First and foremost, there must be a promise to pay money or money's worth. Promise must be conditional. There must be an uncertainty of an event. There must be two parties, and there must be a common intention to bet at the time of making such an agreement. Please mark this particular point as very, very important. And parties should not have no interest even in the event except for statements for just for purpose of betting. The last 2 points, please mark it as important. These aspects should be fulfilled for a transaction to be known as betting or a wager. Here there is one particular aspect which is known similar to wager, and still the contract is considered as a void. It's a bit confusing. See, usually contracts involving skill are not considered as wages. Like there is a dancing competition, and the person who dances the best will get the prize. That particular competition involves skill, so that will not be considered as a wager. Crosswords. But here there is this interesting case given in your study material. Please mark it. crossword puzzles and competitions. You might have asked me, Madam, crossword puzzles and competitions or games, they involve skill. So how do you consider them as wages? But there is an interesting case study which I want you to underline. This is one of the exceptions. Crossword puzzles in which prizes depend upon the correspondence of the competitor's solution with a previously prepared solution kept with the editor of a newspaper is a lottery and therefore a wagering transaction. A crossword puzzle was given in the magazine. This above mentioned clause was stated in the magazine. What is that clause? The clause is correspondence of the competitor's solution. The prizes will depend upon the correspondence of the competitor's solution. That is like what? You have solved the crossword, everything is correct. But whosoever's crossword reaches first to the office, that person will be awarded the prize and not the other people. So the court had considered this as a lottery. See, there might be 5 people who have given right answers. A, B, C, D and E. A's letter might have reached first and E's letter might have reached last. In such situation, that will be considered as a lottery. See, when you're testing the skill, you have to test the skill. You have to give money or payment to everyone. You cannot say because A's letter reached first, we'll give it to him. In that case, it will be considered as a lottery and definitely it will be considered as a wager and this agreement will not be enforceable in court of law. This can be asked as a case study, so please go through it carefully. But crosswords, puzzles, picture competitions which involve skill, they will not be considered as wages. Lottery definitely is a wager. Speculative transactions, they are also wager, like share parties. A makes B invest in a particular shares of a company, promising that the share price will raise after 6 months. Here only speculation is being done. This cannot be called as a valid contract. This agreement is not a valid contract. Definitely horse race transactions, you might have known that people bet on horses, which horse comes first. That also comes under wagering transactions. See, there are certain transactions which look like wages but are not void. Please note down. Transactions resembling wagers but not void. They are chit fund, commercial share market transactions, games of skills, and contract of insurance. See, speculation is different. Share market transaction is different. Share market is purchasing and buying shares. A purchases shares to sell it at a later date. That is a valid contract. Here, A is not giving a condition that I'll sell the shares only when they become 500 rupees. Then it becomes speculation. Here, in that case, it does not come under wages, money, betting. They are valid. Chit fund transactions, everybody knows. Games of skills, okay, especially involving in any other soft activities like singing, dancing and all. Contract of insurance. What do you mean by insurance? Indemnification against loss. What do you mean by indemnification? First, I'll explain this. Indemnification means making good of a loss. Except for life insurance, see, usually you might have seen you have a vehicle, you take an insurance on it, you pay some amount every year. What does the insurance company says? Let's say you have a vehicle of 60,000 rupees. What does the insurance company says? Please pay us some 1,000 rupees in case if your vehicle, unfortunately, if the vehicle suffers an accident, then and it has suffered the damage, will repay the damage to you based on certain conditions. This contract, can you call it as betting? No, it's not a wager. Why? It's a contract of making good funds loss. A person has suffered a loss, insurance company proposes to make good that particular loss based on certain conditions. So this indemnification contract of insurance is not considered as a Betting agreement. Betting agreement, everything is at a stake. You don't know whether it happens or not. So you might ask me, madam, we don't know whether the vehicle is going to suffer an accident or not. Even though you don't know, but still he says, in case if there is an accident, I'll make good the loss. He says in case. He does not say in case if there is no accident, you have to pay me some money. There is no such thing. It's a contract which happens on utmost good faith. I'll close the topic after discussing these three aspects. See, meaning it's a contract to indemnify the loss, but whereas wager, it is promised to pay money on happening or non-happening of a particular event. Usually the consideration in case of insurance contract is mutual consideration. But here it depends upon happening or non-happening of an event, and there is no consideration as such. It is just a stake. What is the interest? Insured party, he particularly knows, I lose some money, but in case of an accident, definitely I'll get some money. But here, do they have any interest? There is no such kind of interest involved. That is, there is no property in case of wagering or agreement. It's just, in case if it happens, it happens. Otherwise, it will not happen. Indemnity is making good one's loss. Except for life insurance, all insurances are a contract of indemnity. But here, in case of wagering agreement, the one who loses the bet definitely has to repay the person who has won the bet. Insurance is enforceable. Definitely, wager is not enforceable. Premium and public welfare, you definitely know it. Insurance is very much a public welfare organization, whereas wagering definitely is against public policy. With this, I close this particular chapter with regard to capacity to consent and free consent. Hope you have understood all the topics taught. Thank you.